Hello everybody, I'm Gordon Steen, I'm CFO of CleanTech Lithium. I've been with the company for 4 years. My background is I'm an accountant by background, but I've been moved out of that a long time ago, and I've been in the energy and mineral resources sector basically since the early 1990s actually. I lived in about 12 different countries around the world and on different projects. I've been CFO of 5 different London listed companies over the years, so I've got had a bit of a tour. But now I'm in the lithium space, which is interesting to get into 4 years ago at a time when we didn't quite see what was going to come in the lithium space. Interestingly, I presented at this conference 3 years ago in June 22. So part of my presentation today is going to be looking at what did I say we were going to do then, what was and where are we now, and how does the market look compared to what we thought we were going to be 3 years ago. This, by the way, is Laguna Verde. It's a flagship project. It does actually look like that. It's quite stunning up there. It's 4,400 meters up the mountain in the Andes in Chile. The nearest community is 100 kilometers away. The main road to Argentina goes within 100 meters of this laguna. So we're well versed on infrastructure and so on. So I'll take you through that. Which one is it? Here we go. On the company itself, we've got 3 assets in Chile, one being more advanced than the others. I'll come back to that in a second. We're AIM listed. We listed a month after Russia invaded Ukraine, which was one of life's experiences, trying to raise money in that interesting market. And because quite a number of our shareholders are listed are from Australia, we were being pushed to list on ASX. That's been quite an interesting experience. And the way they look at companies public elsewhere and doesn't matter and so on. But we're still looking at that possibly for next year. But that process actually is pretty well advanced in terms of all the documentation. Shares on issue, big number, etc. Market valuation 12 doesn't sound pretty brilliant. It has been up to 60, 70, 80 in the past, but that's partly driven by what I'm going to talk you through. And then we look at where we are now and where we seem to be heading in the future. Interesting, major shareholders actually from around the world. Athos out of Hong Kong. Metals one out of the UK. That's a public company in the UK who's invested within, and in fact, they've increased in the last few days. They've been buying our stock. Regal, just short of 10%. They're the biggest hedge fund in Australia. They were in from day one, and then board and management, and then various other entities, including some institutions. We've got some good institutions on our books. Just looking at there, we're looking at Chile here. Just a reminder, in fact, Scott mentioned earlier, Chile's got the largest lithium reserves in the world. It's got two of the biggest production vehicles in the world through SQM and Albemarle. In fact, Albemarle's still got the biggest operation in the world through the Salar de Atacama. The difference from Australia is it's not hard rock, it's brine. And effectively, this whole area in what they call the lithium triangle up there, can I point there? Up there, the lithium triangle, Bolivia, Argentina and Chile has got by far the largest lithium reserves anywhere and resources anywhere in the world. Question is, how do you unlock them and how do you optimize the value that it's sitting there in underground? As a company, as a country, whilst Chile recognizes it's got these huge reserves, it's not been very clever about the way it's extracted those in the past. Effectively, you've had 2 major players, SQM and Albemarle, and actually extracting lithium and getting into the process of being able to do that has been pretty tortuous. That said, the government announced a national lithium strategy, April 23. Since then, there's been quite a lot of moves forward, and actually you'll see from this that we're by far and away, and from a private company perspective, the most advanced company in Chile to be the next company on production in Chile. Where are we? Scoping studies, we've done 2 PEA, very, very robust economics. Even at today's rates, but obviously we're looking at what's like to happen over the next few years. I'll go through that in a minute. And then just a reminder, the interesting, Chile's a mining country. Aside from having the reserves, you've got copper there, you've got gold, and you've got a heck of an experienced workforce with people who literally travel the world with the mining experience that they have in country, particularly through the universities and so on. And as you see on the right there, our flagship project is here, Laguna Verde. There's the road to, it's about 200 kilometers from Copiapó, which is the main mining town in Chile. Viento Andino is another project. It's a very mirror image of Laguna Verde. We've got 1 million tons. We've drilled four wells there. That's really on pause at the moment. We're really focusing our resources on Laguna Verde. Pilot plant, I'll take you through that. We constructed that a couple of years ago. And we have some interesting exploration assets in the Salar de Atacama, which is, I say, the biggest play in the world. That's a future upside potentially. Company snapshots, I mentioned the three. Have I gone the wrong way, haven't I? There we go. Touch on this very briefly. Steve Kessler, chairman, he's 30 years experience in Chile. He was CEO, or VP on Escondida, which is now the biggest copper mine in the world. He took it from 300,000 tons to 1 million tons over 6 years. He then moved on to be the first CEO of Collahuasi, which is now the second biggest copper mine in the world. So he's got an extensive experience. Ignacio joined as a CEO in April of this year. He was the country manager for Albemarle up until a year ago. Albemarle, just to remind you, is running the biggest lithium operation in the world in the Salar de Atacama. He had 1,100 employees. He's now got 10. Why did he join CleanTech? Because he said, we're going to be the next company on production in Chile, because we're miles and away the most advanced company compared to what we've been doing over the last 3-4 years. When I stood here in June 22, we were kind of here. Lithium price, nobody expected the crash that happened. Just imagine oil and gas, say $100 oil, and suddenly your price goes down to $20 oil. That's what's happened in lithium. So the whole market has been whacked. And why is that? A couple of things in play. Lithium supply has come on stream, particularly from Australia, maybe starting to come in through Africa. Hard rock, going on a ship to China, all of it, pretty much, because there are no processing facilities in Australia for the hard rock that they produce, and they produce the most lithium at the moment in the world. So you've got this supply coming on stream, and you've also got China geopolitical games. You know, they can play the long game, they can run at a loss. They've squeezed the market. I mean, they've done it for all the right reasons, all the things you've heard from Scott and so on. But suddenly you find, and not just us, everybody has been whacked by this drop, you know, effectively dropping from what was 90,000 was at the peak, dropping to this period here. So you've got a market there which is pretty much created and has had an impact on the market caps of pretty much every lithium company in the world. Some have ridden it out better than others. A lot of them have shut in production, have shelved projects and so on. And you'll see how we've been reacting in the meantime. But this is what's happening now. The turn is happening, and every analyst you talk to, they all talk about the turn. It's a question of how quick that turn is going to happen. But this is Benchmark Minerals from a couple of months ago, and they're looking at $20,000 to $30,000 a ton, $20,000 to $23,000 a ton by the end of this decade. And you can actually see the price already increasing as we speak. It's starting there. This is on the right. It's not a particularly pretty chart. There's your lithium price, the average price. This is our share price. You see we did quite well straight after the listing. So I was kind of talking here. And as a result of that, we've kind of trailed the market. It's interesting. The market's not sophisticated enough to differentiate between people on production today, so the price affects them today, and their EBITDA and everything, and companies who are looking at developing 3, 4, 5 years' time. It just puts them all in one bucket and you get hit. So our market cap is where we are today, but you'll see from what I'm representing is we're in an extremely good place to move forward in the coming month and years. See if I get this right this time. This is an interesting chart. This was out last week. This is Benchmark Minerals. September, this is car sales worldwide, EV car sales. For the first time, it passed 2 million cars. And what you've seen is America, Trump policies, not working. Not at least stopping people from buying EVs. Up nearly 20% this year. China 25%-ish, Europe just over 30%. It's happening. It's maybe happening at a slower pace than the market might have assumed. But worldwide, you see there's a trend of up, and then it drops in January, and then kicks in again. And as I say, this is the first time it's actually gone beyond 2 million cars. So still a small proportion of the market, but there's absolutely no doubt that the market is turning. And then that's EVs. Again, looking at demand from battery storage, BESS, ESS, is projected to grow substantially as well. You've got AI demanding, power, and all that, etc. So battery storage, and also you've got wind farms who can't, run when it's not when they're overpowered, they've got more supply. So it's about keeping the batteries. So you look at all the curves, the demand for lithium is going to substantially increase. And this is what Benchmark Minerals, it's a report we had commissioned for Benchmark Minerals for our PFS, and it shows this period here where the demand way exceeds supply. And this assumes most of the supply that is expected to come on comes on, and everybody knows that that doesn't happen. Projects are delayed, they're cancelled, funding issues, you name it. So there's a crunch time coming, and this is what Trump is playing here. He realizes, aside from the fact China's got most of the supply, or most of the product, it's filling this gap. And so companies like CleanTech are going to be in pole position, being able to secure and provide supply for people who are going to need it. And those are the car companies, the battery manufacturers, the international traders, people who buy and sell lithium for a market which is going to demand it and is going to need it. So, you know, you're looking at really around at 2029, 23,000. It's 11,000 today. It's double. And that's simply supply-demand. Looking at, in fact, this isn't a particularly great chart, but all of these green these are the share price market increases this year on just these companies. These are producers in Australia and in China and so on. And pretty much everywhere, market cap's up anything between 50 and 160%. Because the market recognizes the changes happening. So, I mean, some of these companies have been up 60% in a month. In the last month, Pilbara's up 60% in the last 2 months. That's the biggest production company in Australia. So the change is happening. And it's an interesting chart. This came out last week for what was going on in the month of October. 3 years ago, I told everybody here that we were going to be drilling wells, we're going to be putting a daily pilot plant in place, we're going to produce scoping studies. That was in a world whereby, you know, the market was at $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a ton. I looked at this presentation last week when I was asked to join this presentation today. We've done all of this. In a horrible market, we kept going. We've raised $50 million over the course of the last 3 years in a number of raises, so pretty much supported by our shareholders. But you know what I presented in here was, this is a drilling campaign we were going to do, which we were just kicking off when I was standing presenting. We did all of that. In fact, we drilled more wells the year after. So we've drilled 8 or 9 wells at Laguna Verde around the perimeter, and we've got a 1.9 million ton resource. Francisco Basin, which is now named Viento Andino, we changed that name internally. We said we were going to drill 4 wells. We did that. We have 1 million tons. We've kind of parked that project for the moment, but it's still there. But interestingly, when I looked at that, great, we did that. We've done all of this and actually moved forward. We said we were going to build a pilot plant, a demonstration plant, to prove that we can take our brine and through this direct lithium extraction process, produce lithium carbonate in 2 days. We said that we're going to do that, and we've done it. This, when we constructed it, it was acquired from a company in Belgium, fabricated, shipped over, fabricated. These columns are 3 meters tall. You've got 32 of them. This was, when we brought it on stream, the largest demonstration plant in South America. So we were pushing the boundaries of what we were trying to do. Why? Because our shareholders were pushing us. Keep going, the market's going to turn. And you can see there the warehousing facility. It's a big warehousing facility. We stored the brine here. So we brought the brine down from the mountain in trucks. We took it to this facility. We ran it through the facility. And we produced an eluate. And we sent that eluate. I'll show you what we did with it later. We sent that eluate and produced lithium carbonate from it. In Chile nowadays, you need to have indigenous community support. There's a real drive by the government and also by the indigenous communities to be involved. They want to be involved in what's happening in their space. So this was the actual opening of our pilot plant. And this lady here is the leader of the local indigenous community. I said they're 100 kilometers away from the site, but they see this as ancestral land. They graze things there, and they want obviously to see this done in the right way. We've been really blessed because we've got probably the best support of any company ever in Chile. We signed an alliance agreement with them nearly 2 years ago. This is the signing ceremony. And this is them going to the pilot plant to see how we can produce lithium sustainably on their land, effectively. And so we've got fantastic support from them. And that's a relationship we continue to nurture. This is me in Chicago, just about a year ago now. This tank had come from Chile, been sent across the ocean. We sent to Chicago. They've got a downstream facility there. They could turn our eluate, this eluate here, in fact, this has come out of the pilot plant here, turn it into battery-grade lithium. And we did it. I watched it happening. You know, they pressed the buttons and they turned the eluate in there over a period of about a day. I was seeing the process happening to produce battery-grade lithium. We announced this to the market, 99.8% pure. That's way beyond Chinese spec. And the thing about lithium is it's all about the impurities, magnesium, calcium, boron, really, really low levels. So daily works, and so we've proved that we can produce lithium carbonate. It's another key thing with Chile, which differentiates itself from Australia, parts of America, and also Africa, is, as you saw from Scott's presentation, the bulk of the products that's taken out of mining is sent to China. There's very few downstream processing facilities in the West. They're starting to come through. There's ones in Hungary, but Chinese companies are building them in the West. Chile can produce lithium carbonate, direct product, and lithium carbonate is what BYD uses for all their batteries. 100% of their batteries are now lithium LFP batteries, which is you require lithium carbonate, not lithium hydroxide, because lithium hydroxide is far more difficult to make. So Chile is in a unique position that it can produce lithium carbonate, it can send it anywhere. We could theoretically send it to China, but North America, European Union. So you can imagine as we move through our project, we're getting some interesting inbounds from strategic partners, household names, who are looking for supply. Laguna Verde, obviously very pretty down there. We've drilled 11 wells around the perimeter. We announced on Monday of this week an increased resource to 1.9 million tonnes. That'll feed 500,000 cars a year for 20, 30 years, lithium for. So it's a pretty substantial resource. Whilst everyone was shutting shop or deferring projects, we continue to invest. We spent over in fact, I think it's nearly $35 million. We spent that in Chile on our drilling campaigns and the pilot plant, the EIA and so on. And the PFS, which that's nearly complete. We're holding off on that. There's an announcement the government we want to see the government make first, but the PFS has been run by Worley, one of the international company. We spent $2.5 million on it. All the engineering's done, and how we're going to manage and we're going to develop the project, the economics as well. That'll come out probably early next year, latter part of this year, and that's nearing completion now. And then we plan to drill. We think this additional resource. We plan to drill additional wells up here and to do further re-injection tests, because the idea is you take the brine out of the wells, you do what you do DLE, which will happen up the mountain, you put the spent brine back under the reservoir in a particular way, and all the hydrological models for that has been done by international parties, specialists. This is the critical thing that's going to change the dial for us. I'll go back to the National Lithium Strategy announced in April 23. That set new rules. I mean, lithium is a national strategic asset. It's different from copper and gold in Chile, where you can have a concession, you can just get on and do it. You need a special contract from the government. Eskom and Albemarle had that. Nobody else has had that until the last month. So the government introduced new rules late last year to apply, and including what they call the streamlined process, so a fast-track process to apply. Where we are in that fast-track process is the Indigenous consultation process, which is a 3 to 6 month process required by law, finishes next week for Laguna Verde. It's probably the fastest ever in Chile history. Why? Because we've nurtured and built that relationship with the communities. They're going to have a stake in our project. We'll announce what that is, but for them it's meaningful. For us, it makes absolute business sense to do that. So they're at the point now where the terms effectively of the contract will have been agreed with the communities. You move into this stage here with a streamlined process. And what companies need to present to be accepted into streamlined process and avoid a public auction is have 80% of the licenses in this polygon, this government area. We've got 97.6%. We acquired another company's assets 3 months ago, and we effectively got to 97. So we've got a clear run now at being accepted into the streamlined process. Once we're in there, we're pretty much guaranteed the contract. And that's what's been holding us back up until now. We've got 7 or 8 companies under NDA, household names, battery companies, car companies, manufacturers, all waiting for the contract, because the contract is the key. That's what opens up the whole play in Chile. So our expectation is that we'll be awarded that contract probably early Q2, maybe even late Q1 as a process. And that then allows us to take forward the project with these strategic partners together effectively in Chile. Going backwards again. I think we've done most of this. This is history. This is the campaigns we've done through 22, the listing and so on. And we've delivered that. We've got the PFS coming out end of this year, beginning of next. We've got the EIA and Indigenous EIA process just about to start. That's a process with the community supporting us. And we've got this application going in, but with us being the only applicant. The next few months, half a year is going to be really interesting. It's now starting to get into hot and heavy conversations with strategics who need supply. And we'll be announcing something on that in the relatively near future in terms of how we're going to do that and who we're going to use to support us in doing that. And then there's the process leading up to what we hope is coming on stream. I've got a date in mind. It's in the PFS, but I better not say it yet. But it's not far. It's in the foreseeable future. We will be, if everything goes to plan, we'll be the next company on production in Chile, because nobody else has even done more than exploration wells. So we're way ahead of that. Interestingly, just to put a place where DLE is in the cost curve, this is your hard rocks coming out of Australia. It's expensive. You have to mine it, big mines, then you have to put it on a ship, send it to China, get it processed. It's not cheap. So you can see the curve today. These companies are running at a loss. And obviously you've seen shut-ins in Australia. The Chinese can live with this. Some company, even the biggest battery manufacturer in the world, is shut in a mine 3 months ago. We're playing here in this space. We're in the low cost curve because DLEs are very efficient and pretty fast process. So we're in the kind of cost curve where brine sits here. And just a final reminder, this is a European Commission raw material information. This is what they're quoting. This is how they see supply working. This is demand. So there's a real what's ahead. You can see that the supply now at the moment supplying, but this is coming. So this is why Trump's playing he can see this coming. This is why governments and the EU are really reacting, because otherwise China is going to hold all the cards. So companies like CleanTech Lithium and other companies in the US and so on are moving pretty fast to try and unlock the opportunity that exists now, particularly with this supply-demand market. So just to summarise, we were in the fortunate position we were able to continue progressing our project because we had support from our shareholders. Lots of other companies just shut up shop or pushed projects back, slowed things down and so on. So we're now in a really nice position in Chile in that we're miles ahead of anybody else in Chile. No one else. We've drilled 16 wells over the course of the last 3 years, and as well as the pilot plant and so on. Nobody expected the lithium crash. It's just it's brutal. You imagine what that would do in the oil and gas world if oil prices went down to $20 a barrel. Probably 2/3 of three-quarters of companies would go bust. They just couldn't sustain that. But you're starting to see the recovery happening as the industry matures. And then Chile is extremely well placed now to actually take the opportunity there. So it's a question of watch this space, and if you're interested, come and join us. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.